Hey y'all, it is Hope at Crafty Hope here, and welcome. Today I'm working on the Mixed Media Menagerie April Challenge. This challenge comes from Nicole, Erin, and Laura, who are the originators from Mixed Media Menagerie, and they've got a guest artist this month, which is Michelle or Mickelnay. So I'm going to make sure the links to all of their videos below. But the challenge is to use these three items, which one is a vintage color, two is a photo or image transfer, and three is walnut ink or coffee dye or coffee. And so I showed y'all I'm using this cheap notebook, and I glued the pages together and then covered them in gesso. And then I'm showing you that I grabbed some vintage photos there and photocopied them because I'm going to do my image transfer with them, or try to do an image transfer with them. And those are some vintage photos I just picked up. I'll actually be revealing that thrifty haul on this Thursday. So if you want to see some more about those, tune in on Thursday. So I'm starting with my first image transfer technique, and this is actually something that Laura did in her video where she took book pages and some gel medium and stuck the book pages down. Now, I don't think I've ever tried to do a image transfer this way, and I really was intrigued by it, so I decided to try it. There was no reason not to. At least like with the book pages, the way that Laura did it. I've done the gel medium image transfers before, and that's what I'm doing for this whole thing. I'll use those photocopies and a little wall to do an image transfer. So I let that dry, and I took those extra pages from the book, and I'm going to go ahead and stick it down in my homemade art journal here. Now that I don't even think the gesso is completely dry. I'm not even positive. But I'm just using a Noohoo glue stick to stick those pages down, and that way there's some consistency between that tag and those book pages. They're all included in there. I like consistency. And now I am going back to this little tag, and I'm peeling up some of the excess. I did let things overlap and all that, so I'm just peeling that up a little bit and leaving what stuck down stuck. And I've got a bowl there of some warm water, and y'all, some of my tag peeled up there. So if you're super concerned about that, don't be willy-nilly like I did. Go ahead and wet your image transfer so that you're not peeling up your actual tag or whatever your substrate is. So I am getting all of those book pages wet finally. And basically with an image transfer, you're just peeling up the paper, and the image, the ink that's there will stay on your art journal or your tag or whatever it is. So the magic of gel medium, it keeps those inky images down and the paper comes up. It's kind of super cool. So I brought in just a paper towel there that I'm helping rub off some of that. I'm not being super precious about this. I don't care if this gets a little splotchy and weird, if some of the paper stays on, if some of it buckles, because that's going to add texture for what I'm going to do with this tag next. So I just kept working at that, some with my finger, some with my paper towel, and then I have got my gel medium, and I'm just going over it to seal down that image transfer. I can't remember I don't remember which of the artists it was that did that. It may have been Michelle, actually. I'm not sure. With all four of them having image transfers, I cannot remember who showed me what. All right, so I have these images that I photocopied, or these photos that I photocopied on my printer. And y'all, I really wanted to, if I can figure out how to scan these and save them somewhere for y'all, I'll put them up. But I haven't figured that out yet. I can't figure out how to get my scanner to send to my computer yet. And I'm pretty technologically I can usually figure that out, but I can't really get to the printer where it is right now to futz with it. So if I can figure that out, I'll put links, but I don't know that it's going to be this week. You may have to come back another time, or I may share them another time when I can figure it out. But I saved a whole sheet of these photocopied images so I can share them at some point with y'all. All right, so you see I'm taking my matte gel medium and doing a nice coat on the front of these images, and then I'm laying down and I'm putting them on deli paper because for some reason I wanted them to be transparent completely. I don't know. I could have done this on anything. In fact, what I'm going to end up gluing them onto later is some fabric. And I really, really wish I had done the image transfers onto the fabric. And it's okay. I'm kind of kicking myself for it, but when I do these things, I just kind of go in and I play and I figure it out later. And I mean, they're going to end up on the fabric anyway. So it's not a huge deal. So again, I got some warm water and I am peeling up the layers of paper. I did let it, I peeled up a layer, I let it dry, I peeled up some more. I really should have done a better job because in the end, they're still a little tiny bit cloudy, but it's not a huge deal. Yeah. So you see all that paper rolling up. Like I said, I'll go over that at least one more time before I come back in and go again over with the gel medium to seal them. So they don't look super cloudy there, but you'll see the close-ups at the end where they kind of look a little cloudy, and I'm a little upset with myself about that. All right, so I've put them off to the side. I've grabbed my little yogurt cup that has some dried up instant coffee in it, and I've reconstituted it with my distress sprayer. And I've got a paintbrush, and I am just going to paint this coffee over my tag. So right there on this one tag, I have both my photo image or image transfer, photo image, not my photo image, my image transfer. Y'all, it is late. I'm trying to get this recorded and I'm just boom. All right, so I'm painting that coffee on there, and so that's my image transfer and coffee all on one tag, but both of those things are coming in again later. So I've got that painted on there, and I'm going to go ahead and dry it real quick and decide that it needs a little bit more darkening, and y'all, I'm going to come back later and decide to lighten it. But what I like about using coffee is it always seems to pick up a lot of texture. And it does even better than like inks and stuff that I have. I don't know what it is. And I'm going to go ahead and warn you, I was feeling all about the texture when I was doing this spread. And so I grabbed some clear crackle paste. This is the Premium Marketing clear crackle paste. And I'm using just a palette knife to kind of sloppily coat it on top of that coffee once it was dry. But I'm going to come in a little bit with loads more textures. But first I have gone back to my journal here and my glue stick, and I'm just going to stick down a bunch of book pages and printed pages and just kind of all kinds of stuff. And like I like to do, they're all going to tend to be fairly neutrals. There is a little bit of rust-dyed paper that I put down there at first, but everything else is kind of like black and white, basically. So even like that, it's supposed to be white, but it's, it's aged. It's got that vintage color, which is, one of our prompts. But you can see the paints up there in the upper right corner. Those are my palette that I've decided on vintage colors. Now, I know that can be interpreted in so many ways. You can go vintage retro but I kept coming up with almost like Victorian rosiness in my head. I don't know. I wanted something with almost like brown tones into it and feeling very dusty and aged. And so that's the palette we're going to be working with here in just a little bit. So I sped this up because y'all don't need to see me just pasting stuff down forever and ever. Now, like I said, I'm going to put links to the other people's videos to Nicole, Erin, Laura, and Michelle's, but you can also follow the hashtag MMMAPR22. I'll have a link below to that, and that is so you can do a tag along and see what other people created with these prompts, and that's both here on YouTube and on Instagram. All right, so I said I was going to bring in some more texture, and I am. I have this Prima Marketing a sand texture paste that I'm just using my finger to put around in a couple spots. I think I've sped this up pretty quick too, because no, maybe it wasn't this one. I don't remember. I've got some things sped up a little bit faster than it needed to be, because yeah, I really took my time with this video. This page in general took me almost 2 hours to do. I was just dilly-dallying and enjoying the process and kind of let time get away from me. Does that ever happen to y'all when you're creating? You think, oh, that's only been like 15 minutes. And then you look at the clock and you're like, oh my gosh, I've been in here for 3 hours. Yeah, I can get a sore booty that way from sitting too long. So before that sand texture paste was even dry, I've got the Ranger Crackle paste. This is the opaque white crackle, and my palette knife again. And I'm just putting some crackle down. So I've got sand and crackle, clear crackle and white crackle. And y'all, I was totally feeling the texture. I've been watching some other videos, and with my Assemblage 100 project, really trying to figure out how to get different kinds of texture out of things. So since I wasn't adding any texture to anything for my assemblage projects when I did this, I thought, I'll just throw it in my mixed media menagerie. So I left those to dry overnight and came back the next day, and here, oh yeah, I sped this one up super a lot. So this first paint is called, what is it called? Sea Glass. It's a Deco Arts Americana one, and I've watered it down a bit, and I'm going to put it a little bit on the left side of the page and a little bit on the right. Now, I'm not worried about the crackle or the sand paste at this point. Those are all dry. Always remember that with crackle paste, it does usually a lot better if you just let it air dry than you use a heat gun. So that's what I did. And who was it now? I'm trying to remember. Was it Laura again that inspired me to do this? That she ordered down a bunch of hers. I got real inspired by the videos I've watched lately, y'all. You can tell. So I'm emulating that a little bit. So, what is it? Imitation is the highest form of flattery. Is that it? And I suppose that's what I'm doing. All right, that second color there is called Morning Mist, I think. Yep. Sorry, I've got them sitting here because I knew I was going to forget them. And that was by Deco Arts Americana. And this third one is a folk art paint, and it's Yellow Ochre. And I thought it was going to be really good in its real form, and I realized it was going to be far too bright for these other really subdued, what I'm considering vintage colors. So I kind of mixed it with a little bit of that sea glass. What is sea glass? See, I'm going to have to look again. Yes, it's sea glass. So I mixed it a little bit with that sea glass, just to kind of get it to push back a little from that super bright yellow. And it was, for some reason, just not going quite as far as the others two did when I tried to move it around. I don't know if I didn't get enough water in it or what, but And that's some golden fluid acrylic in Titan Buff. I don't even know if they still create that, y'all. I got it at an estate sale. But I'm going to water that down a little and push back the areas where the crackle is on my coffee dyed card there. So where I put the crackle paste and it's dried, I'm just putting some of that Titan Buff just to kind of push back the color so that I can accentuate the crackle later, if that makes sense. So, and then I decided while it was sitting there to go ahead and splash on that watery Titan Buff on my page. You'll never see it. It just blends in with the crackle, but it made me realize that, oh, I should splash on some coffee. So that's what I did. I reconstituted my coffee again, and I'm just splattering that on. Yeah, I love a good splatter. It helps to kind of bring it together. So I've got those three colors on there, but something about adding some splatter and mark making on top of that always seems to kind of help bring those kind of things together because that's over the whole thing. And so everything feels a little more integrated. So now that that's splattered, I'm going to dry that real quick. And then I have got a distress crayon in walnut stain. And this is another section I've sped up quite a bit. I did brush off some of the crackle and sand that was kind of getting loose. And I'm going to do a couple different things. I've got a little puddle of water there, and I'm going to put some of the distress crayon on my mat, and some of it I'm going to put just right, you see, right on the page. I'm just going around the page, but it's right where that sand paste and where the crackle is because I'm trying to pick up the texture using that distress crayon. So a little bit of water, kind of a damp finger, and the distress crayon. And I'm just kind of, yeah, here I'm just going over everything now. Yep. But I'm also going to put a little bit of it down on my nonstick craft sheet. I think I am, to help pick up, yeah, there, to make sure there's some on my finger too. Because especially with that sand paste, it was a little bit harder to get the texture picked up. So, but I really, that's just what I was feeling, was playing with all of that texture. And I don't think you can see it real well in this sped up, version of this, but I've got a ton of detail photos here at the end, y'all, that you'll get to see all of that texture that I created, because that was the whole point for me in this one for some reason. So I did the same thing here on that clear crackle on my card or tag. Yeah. I didn't know what I was going to do with this tag. I just felt like kind of experimenting with that book page on the tag to just see if it would work. And since it did, I decided to keep that design going in. And I knew it was kind of going to go into that area. And looking at it on the page, I realized that the coffee splatters didn't quite get enough coffee on the page, and I needed that to be integrated a bit more. So I'm going to do a little bit of mark making with my coffee there. I know at this point the coffee has been sitting in that little bit of water long enough that it has gotten like super yummy dark. And which I love. So when it gets nice and dark like that. But when it's good and watered down is really when it picks up all the texture. So you've got to find that balance when you're painting with coffee. But it's become, I think, my last several videos I've been sharing, y'all, I think coffee's become my obsession because I've definitely been using a lot of it. All right, so I've made just little marks with my paintbrush on there, and then I took a little piece of fabric. I think this is just some cotton fabric that I have, and I sprayed it with a little bit of water, and now I'm going to splash coffee on it and then spray some more water on it and decide it's just not what I wanted. So you'll see. I'm going to spray some more water on it. I'm liking that, but I decided to turn it over onto my craft sheet like that, and there. Oh, that's so much better. But there was something on my craft sheet that had a little bit of blue on it. And I don't know that y'all can see it in this, but on that right edge of it is a little bit of blue, which was kind of bothering me. So I'm going to start to dry this and then bring that sea glass acrylic paint back in and splatter it right there on the fabric, which gives it kind of a patina look, which I love. I don't know that it's going to come through a whole lot in the final product, but yeah, and I'm just making a mess, y'all. I'm such a mess. I had a good time with this one. So, all right. So here are my image transfers. The matte gel medium has dried on the top of it, and I am tearing them out of my deli paper here. I started to cut, but I was like, I don't know, I kind of want torn edges. So yeah, I'm tearing them and praying that I don't tear them to pieces because my tearing skills are not the best. And I probably should have just gotten a ruler, and yeah, that would have been way easier. How cute are these guys? I think these pictures were from about the 40s. I don't think these two had names on the back of them. But I decide basically that those two, they're just going to go right there. So I think I'm going to go ahead and grab my matte gel medium. Nope, that was my Crackle paste. There's my matte gel medium. And go ahead and glue them down straight onto that fabric. Now, making them clear, I really probably should have used some fluid medium, and they could have blended maybe a little bit better on the fabric, but this was all just an experiment. You can, and you might be able to see it in the close-ups at the end, see some of the blue paint splatters coming through, especially on his forehead, that big blue spot. I don't know if you can see it, but when I took the pictures and everything, you could see a big blue spot through there. But that's why I wanted to do the do it on the deli paper, was so that it could be a little more transparent. I didn't get the best use out of it, but it's something that now I know it works, and I can play with that a little bit more later. And now you know it works too, so you can play with it. I decided that this tag needed to be framed up. It hit me later that really what I should have done is put some foam tape on the back of it to lift it from the page, but that's okay. This little book doesn't need any more bulk than it's already got on it. But I put the Stabilo around and activated it just to frame it up, and decided to bring some darkness into the page too. So I grabbed this is a graphite stick. It's not the Lyra one. It was from the Dollar Tree, but I'll link to the Lyra one below, because I know that the Mixed Media Menagerie girls have the Lyra one in their kit. So I just splashed that around. I dipped it in the water that I had up there and just splattered that around. I'm going to dry my page. These are, I can't remember what these are called. They're a Tim Holtz sticker, and I'll have a link to them also below. And I've made up a little phrase that for the life of me, I can't remember right now. It says, for a moment. Oh, I can't even remember. Oh, y'all, this is killing me because it meant so much to me. But it says, for a moment, neither said anything. And then there is nothing simpler. And it, to me, felt like those two are the neither said anything. And so what was in that silence? What were they doing? Were they giving each other hard stares, or smiling at each other, or kissing, or something more? So you can kind of come up with your own idea of what that simpler thing was they were doing. And I went around those phrases as well as my whole spread with my Stabilo, and I'll activate that just to frame everything up and let it stand out, because the phrase is getting kind of lost over there. And I decided to go ahead and stick down my tag. I'm going to have to weigh it down with a couple of the things that are sitting on my desk. Yeah, I add a little more of the matte gel medium. And then I'll grab, a couple things, weigh it down, and then while that's being weighed, I will get a super wet paintbrush and just activate all of my Stabilo around my words and around my oh my gosh, and around the pages. And then I'll stick down my little couple. And I think that's going to be it, y'all. I'm fairly sure that's it. So, I hope you have enjoyed this. It was a long one. I had some good time playing. I encourage you to get your supplies. If you feel compelled to play with some of your supplies, go for it. That's what they're there for. There's no reason to have them sit and save. I've had too many supplies go bad, like Crackle paste, because I was like, oh, it's too precious to use all the time. No, I'm going to use it all the time. I like it. I paid for it. If it goes bad, then that's my fault. So I say, get those supplies out, play with them. Check out the Mixed Media Menagerie gals. They always inspire me to try something new, even if I am completely copying what they do. I apologize for that, y'all. But y'all do inspire me. So if you did like this and you stuck in here, make sure to give me a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button. And I hope you'll come back another time and see what I've got going on. All right, y'all. Thanks for watching. Bye.